The movie opens with a mysterious man in a coat and hat attempting to defuse a ticking bomb. Just as he's focused on disarming it, a gunshot distracts him, and before he can finish, the device explodes. The blast severely burns his face. Moments later, another figure approaches and helps the injured man reach for a violin case. As soon as the scorched man uses the case, he suddenly vanishes. In this sequence, 3 different characters appear: the bomb technician, John, the shooter known as the Fizzle Bomber, and the barkeep. But the twist is that they are actually the same person at different points in time. John is revealed to be a time-traveling operative working for the Temporal Bureau, an agency that manipulates time to prevent major crimes. His mission is to track down the Fizzle Bomber and stop a devastating attack planned for New York in 1975. Despite multiple attempts, he hasn't succeeded. Meanwhile, another version of him, the barkeep, prepares for his final assignment. He jumps back to 1970, where he assumes the role of a bartender. Soon his younger self, John from that year, arrives at the bar. The two begin talking, and John reveals that he is the writer who goes by the pen name Unmarried Mother. John begins to recount his life story. He explains that he was originally born female and named Jane. Abandoned as an infant in 1945, she grew up in an orphanage and was never adopted. Later she tried to enlist in a space program run by Mr. Robertson. Though Jane showed promise, she was rejected due to unusual aspects of her biology, though the official reason given was a fight she had with another recruit. Disheartened, Jane left the program and eventually enrolled in night school. There she met a mysterious man and fell in love with him. But one day, he suddenly vanished, leaving her waiting for him in vain. Not long after, Jane discovered she was pregnant. She gave birth successfully, but the doctors revealed startling news. Jane possessed both male and female reproductive organs. Complications during delivery forced the doctors to remove her female organs, leaving her with only the male anatomy. From then on, Jane had to live as a man, eventually adopting the name John. Tragedy struck again when her newborn baby was kidnapped. John admits something unsettling to the barkeep. Every time he looked in the mirror after his transformation, he couldn't escape the reminder of the man who had ruined his life. The cruel twist, he explains, is that the nurses found his new appearance attractive, calling him handsome, just like that stranger who knew exactly what to say to women. Deep down, John felt uneasy about the resemblance, but he brushed it off as his imagination playing tricks. Once John finishes recounting his story, the barkeep remains calm, though he already knows every detail, because it's his own past as well. He doesn't reveal this, but instead tells John that he knows the whereabouts of the mysterious man who ruined Jane's life. He tempts John with the offer of revenge, the chance to kill this man without facing any consequences. Together they use the violin case to jump back in time to when Jane was attending night school. Armed with a pistol, John sets out to find the stranger, only to unexpectedly cross paths with Jane. In a shocking realization, he discovers that he is the very stranger he's been searching for. He falls for Jane, and ends up sleeping with her, creating the paradox where his male self fathers his own child. It's a closed loop. He literally becomes the cause of his own existence. While John is entangled in this revelation, the barkeep quietly slips away, moving forward in time to 1970, where the attempted bomb defusal is about to take place. There, he spots the Fizzle Bomber setting up the device. A brutal fight breaks out. First gunfire, then hand-to-hand combat. The barkeep is badly beaten and knocked unconscious. When he comes to, he awakens just in time to witness John's face being burned during the failed bomb defusal. He steps in to help his younger self use the violin case to escape, while the Fizzle Bomber manages to slip away. Later, the barkeep travels to the moment when Jane delivers her baby. Mr. Robertson appears, revealing that he too possesses a violin case that allows him to move through time. It becomes clear that he is the one overseeing the entire Temporal Bureau. The barkeep secretly takes Jane's newborn and travels back to 1945, where he abandons the child at the orphanage. That baby, of course, grows up to be Jane. In other words, John is both his own mother and father, the result of his future male self sleeping with his past female self. The cycle is a complete loop, a disturbing paradox, where he is the sole cause of his own existence. This also explains why the child was born with both male and female reproductive organs. It's the perfect example of a bootstrap paradox. John is entirely self-created. After dropping the baby off, the barkeep returns to the point when Jane and John were still together. He signals John, pulling him away and leaving Jane waiting alone on the bench. The barkeep explains that he is actually John too, just from a different time with a different face. Though the movie holds back the full reveal until later, the two then travel forward to 1985, There, the barkeep eventually meets with Mr. Robertson and leaves John to recover from the overwhelming truth. The barkeep prepares for his retirement and sets course for 1975, just before the New York bombing incident. Before leaving, he records a message for John, a set of instructions for his younger self to follow. In time, John processes everything he's learned. With the guidance left on the tape, he begins preparing himself to step fully into his role as a temporal agent, continuing the endless cycle. 7 years later, in 1992, John jumps back to 1970. Wearing the familiar coat and hat, he attempts to disarm a bomb planted by the Fizzle bomber. A gunfight breaks out, and John loses focus just long enough for the device to detonate, leaving his face horribly burned. Meanwhile, after leaving John in 1985, the barkeep arrives in 1975, intending to retire. He tries to deactivate his time travel device, but an error appears. Looking into the files, he finds hidden instructions from Mr. Robertson, guiding him toward the Fizzle bomber, who is preparing to trigger the catastrophic New York attack. Following the trail, the barkeep makes his way to a laundromat, where he finally comes face to face with the Fizzle bomber. To his horror, the bomber is revealed to be none other than himself, an older version twisted by years of unchecked time jumps. The repeated leaps through time have warped his mind, turning him into the very monster he spent his life chasing. The barkeep kills this older self, but the cycle remains uncertain. Ending the life of one version of the Fizzle bomber doesn't necessarily prevent the bombing, because a younger version could still carry it out. After all, the bomber also possesses the freedom to move through time. What becomes clear is that the barkeep has always been locked in pursuit of himself, an endless loop of creation and destruction. His obsession with preventing terrorist attacks pushed him down a darker path, where innocent lives were lost in the name of prevention. Even after killing the Fizzle bomber, he hides the fact that his time device never fully shut down. This means he continues to use it, even knowing what it does to him. In the end, John is left with a choice: to try breaking free from the cycle, or repeat it once again. His actions show that some fates can't be avoided, no matter how hard you fight them. If you enjoyed the movie, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more recaps like these. See you in the next one.